Hello YouTube, this is Andre from the Swole Dudes Fish Tanks, and today I'm going to talk about these two 10-gallon tanks. They stand over here next to the fire-bellied toads. That, and there's two of them, and they're stacked one on top of the other. They're both they both have a bottom layer that holds the water separate from the substrate. Here it's gravel. Here it's light diffuser. I find because this one is made with pebbles, with gravel, which is contacting the mesh and the substrate. This one is the substrate here is a lot wetter than it is here, because if you can see that the water is not contacting the mesh or the substrate in any way, and almost no water wicks up on the plastic. So this only gets wet from watering it or from water evaporating. This gets wet from the water wicking up onto the rocks and onto the substrate. So, and the roots, of course. There aren't very many plants with roots in here. That's just the one grass that snuck into there. No other roots except for that. And those don't make it into the water. You can see that the water is a tan color because of the tannins from the soil that I use. That's not soil really. It's a mix of, sphagnum moss and orchid bark and charcoal and sand and cocoa fiber. I don't know if I said that. A few other things. All these mosses are collected locally. That's an interesting one. I didn't know that we had club mosses here, but apparently we do. So I brought that back about a year ago. I planted this last spring. It's been less than a year, almost a year. I think we're 10 months since I set this up. And I specifically put this here because there's a lot of glare. Wait. Let's see. If I do this, oh, it's gonna work so much better. Look at that. I'm brilliant. An easier thing would be to do this. Yeah, look at that. I'm so smart. So you can see there, the moss is, it looks really good. I like it. There's all sorts of different mosses that are just growing in there. You can see there's a few vacancies. This was completely filled up, and the mosses were growing over each other. So I took some out when I was planting my new vivarium that I just made over there. Yeah, so they'll grow in no time, and then fill in those gaps. And here, yeah, I'll actually take that away for this one. That is an aquarium plant. I forget what it's called. The sphagnum moss there, it doesn't grow like that. I flattened it all out because it was choking out a lot of stuff. It made it the most of the way up to the top, probably closer. Keep in mind there's a few inches of substrate, but that was still too high and it was choking out. It was falling on itself. I didn't really like that. So I took out about half of it when planting that tank, and I flattened the rest, and it's just gonna grow again, make a nice thicket of sphagnum moss. Yeah, I guess you'd call it that. This is fern moss. that's not doing so well because it's been plagued with mold ever since I put it in here. This one is more than a year old. Yeah, I did it. I made it in the winter a year ago, like in December. This one's also really nice. I like it. I like the fact that this one is wetter than this one. So because of that, I have a lot more liverworts in here, and they do a lot better. Well, I only have two species, but there's a lot more of them. They grow a lot better in here. Oh, man, clear. You can see some liverworts over there. There's a bunch of really cool mosses in here. So I have lids, these clear lids on both of them, and until like a week ago they were separate. There was one here and one here, and all this stuff was in the front. Here on the right here. But then I got the idea of stacking them, and that looks so cool. Like now I'm thinking of putting a third one on top and maybe getting another three here. Getting pretty ambitious because this looks really good. Like I could just have a wall of these and put some more vascular plants in there to, that'll fill up the entire height of the tank. That'll be pretty cool. And incorporating like driftwood and rocks actually escape them a bit. That would be really nice. Yeah, because that just doesn't look that pleasing. It's all fogged up. This looks a lot better. I did just wipe the glass. Yeah, but this one I didn't for like a few weeks, and it looks really nice. These ones still get fogged up every now and then, but it's more it's less frequent than it is there. That one's fogged up almost every day. These ones, it's more of a water cycle. Like one day it'll be fogged up, and then like a week it won't be, and it'll rain down again, and be like that for a week. It's pretty cool. So this one, since when they were standing like this one also had a lid, and it still does, and it had this thing. So what I did is I just put it upside down, like that, because I didn't want the bottom of this one to be getting wet, so I just kept the lid on. I don't want the bottom of this one to be getting wet because I'm gonna have to take this off if I want to do maintenance on this one, or maintenance on this one, up because this is kind of uncomfortable. It's like exactly shoulder height. I'd like to put it on a table if I want to get in there for an extended period of time. Yeah, so and I wouldn't want the bottom of this to be getting wet. There's a few other things here. Got this from a thrift store. It's a pretty piece of glass, cube shaped. I have those water storing crystals in there. I got them from Home Depot. I don't know what this plant's called, but I have it growing in the water. This was a rescue. My mom had it, and it wasn't doing that well. She gave it to me. I just didn't know what to do with it, so I put it in here, hoping it would survive, and it did. It's been growing for a few months like this. Not very fast. It's only gained a few new leaves, but it is growing, and so that means it's not dying, and that's good. And this section I separated from here. It's not doing very well in here. This it's mostly sphagnum moss. There's some other kind of moss in there. The glass is really cloudy. I don't know if I want to get in there and clean it, or if I just want to leave it on its own and see how long it lasts. We'll see. I'm probably gonna rate it for its sphagnum moss when I'm doing some other project. And here I'm just propagating some plants, some two kinds of ferns that I got at the Aquatic Experience. A few different kinds of mosses, tropical mosses, aquatic mosses, Ficus pumila, aluminum plant that I got from Home Depot. Pretty cool. I have an alocasia here that's not doing so well. I don't know. This is kind of an experiment. A piece of some succulent, very popular succulent. Forget its name for some reason. That's not good. Alloy. No, alloy. I don't know how you say it in English. In Russian, it's pronounced aloya. I don't know. Probably something very similar in English. It fell off the plant because I hit it with a ball, and I just put in here to see if it would grow roots. Hasn't yet, but it's still alive and it's been in there for a couple of weeks, so that's a good sign. This one's not showing very good signs. You can see there's some purple there. I don't know what that means. If that's some deficiency or not. Nutrient deficiency, or like an infection or something. Oh no, this thing fell in. Let me see if I can catch it. Yes, caught it. Didn't fall in. It's resting on that. I think purple might mean potassium deficiency, or maybe that's just like an infection, like bacteria there. No, I don't think so. But like, it's still alive, but it hasn't been growing roots, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I usually don't have a light on this. I just put the light here, for the time being, just so I can film it. You'll notice that there's some brown stuff that's diatom algae that I was too lazy to completely clean off, because before this was a terrestrial enclosure. It had water in it. It was an aquarium, and it had crayfish, and I used a substrate from the river. I had all sorts of goodies in here, all sorts of worms and hydra, and it was completely covered in diatom algae. This was the back. The front, I had it cleaned so I can actually look into it. That was really a success. And see, if I was filming at that time, I would have documented it, but I didn't document it at all, unfortunately. Wait, maybe I did. It was a while ago. I don't know. You gotta check. I might do crayfish again. I acquired a new tank. This one has black silicone. It's all my tanks so far have had clear silicone, so this looks pretty cool. Novel. And I have dirt in here. It's kind of annoying that it has perlite, but I'm still gonna use it. I'll just, cap it, and if any perlite floats up when I'm like pulling plants out, I'll just net it out. It's not a big deal. I'm just too lazy because I already put it in here. Now I'm just like searching for a good cap, because I like variety. I use pool filter sand here, like quartz, some like gravel mixed with sand, mixed with a bunch of other stuff in here. I want to get some cool gravel, and this will be in a fish tank, and it might have crayfish, or it might be a tropical tank and it might have gouramis, because I've never had those yet and I want them. This is a 20 high. You'll notice that it fits on the same stand as the as the 40 long, same width. Pretty cool. That is dwarf sag from this tank. I scooped some out today and put them into the Rhesus, see how it grows. We'll see how well it transitions to above water growth. Isn't this tank gorgeous? Camera can't handle all of the green light from the sun reflecting off of the leaves. This is some native, jungle val, native jungle val. Guppies, swordtails, neon tetras, rummy nose tetras, some sort of rasboras. I have a mix in here. A bunch of different fish. Small fish. It's a really nice tank. The camera shows it is way too green, just because of the light. It's being blasted with light. Just look at this plant. This is a Syngonium podophyllum. Look at the difference in heights. So this one's grown. It still gets a good amount of light. This is a sunny room, but see the height of that there. Look at the height of this one. It's growing really close, and the leaves to the filter, and the leaves on the outside are kind of bleached a bit because it's just getting bombarded with sunlight. You can see there's some moss. God, I can't see anything. Some moss right there. There you go. You can see that some of its roots are exposed to come on, focus. Yeah, some of its roots are exposed to the air. I think that's really helping it grow. Also, I don't know if that's mold or a spider web. Either way, it's pretty cool. Some algae growing there. There's some algae. You can see there's some spots of green algae growing there, and there's also some cyanobacteria growing there. And both of those are really good. They're growing on the lid, and that's good because it's acting as an algae scrubber. The water splashes up. It has nutrients. Plenty of sun here. The nutrients are used for the growth of the algae. The water drips back down. It's has less nutrients now, so it removes nutrients from the system when I take the lid off and I wipe all of the algae and cyanobacteria off. Also, it allows me to look at cyanobacteria under my microscope whenever I want. You can see this gets hit with sunlight as well. Baby fish that I put in here, they're growing up. Used to have a betta fish in this tank. It was this tank right here. Bet died, so now I just have these fish. And I trimmed back the water wisteria. It was growing out the tank this high. Just it's a jungle of water wisteria, and I moved most of it out. I love this tank. It just looks really nice. See all the moss. Glare. It's not glare, it's just the intensity of the sunlight. The camera, it looks absolutely brilliant in person, but the camera's not doing a good job. I love the way the sunlight hits the moss, and there's kind of like an indent in the moss right there, like a valley. I have a piece of styrofoam here floating with moss growing on top of it. That moss is not doing so well. It's been moldy for like a year now. This liverwort here is doing pretty well. It's a tropical liverwort called Reishi fluitans. Now's not really a good tank to film. A good time to film this tank because glare. This is a tank to be looked at and filmed at night. All of these tanks, you have to look at them when the sun is up. Like right now, this is the optimal, a little past the optimal time to look at them. You can see that since I moved this tank here, this pothos has been going completely nuts. Like, it's growing all the way here. I might put it I'm definitely going to put into that tank once it gets there. I might put into this tank once it gets a little bigger. You can see just the massive roots that's in there. You can see that the roots are starting to grow into the substrate. There's better examples at the back, but you can't really see that. There's so many roots in this tank. You can see that it's branching off now. It's going across this way. There's another one. Once it gets to there, I might have it go into that tank as well. It's really loving it there. I always thought pothos was like a low light plant, but apparently not, because it's getting blasted with sunlight for 8 hours a day. No, is it? About 8 hours. And it's doing great. Like you can see it's like going all the way through the leaves. It's doing great. And both of these, this pothos and this Syngonium podophyllum, they're acting as nutrient absorbers. Especially nitrates from the fish poop. The end products of the nitrogen cycle. They absorb that for their growth, and I don't have to do water changes as frequently. I love it. Yeah, so a bunch of cool things in here. This plant's doing poorly. I don't know what kind of plant. What kind of plant is this? It's a croton. That right there. And my mom had it upstairs, and it started dying. More than half of its leaves have fallen off. She gave it to me. I'm still not doing so well. I just put it right here in the sun, and I water it how I think it needs to be watered. It says to soak it and let it dry out in between waterings. Not dry out, but like for it to okay. So now this tank. This is a what do you call it? 29 gallon, 30 gallon. I don't know what it's called. It's the same size as that tank right there, but it's acrylic. This is my only acrylic tank, and it's so light. Like I have trouble carrying that one with all the substrate in it. This one, no trouble. Even when I put everything in there, I carried over there. No trouble. Easy. It easily weighs like 1/3 of what that one weighs. Empty. Love acrylic. Thing I don't love about it that it scratches easily. I don't move tanks often, so and I can always have help moving tanks. From my experience with this tank, I will always choose glass over acrylic, even though glass is a lot heavier. Just because it's not, you can like actually scrub it. You can't scrub this tank. And you don't see it, but let me get a footstool here, so I don't have to ruin my shoulders. Dun dun dun. Big mold problem in here. Big mold problem. All of the wood is completely covered with mold. Kind of looks like a horror movie, and it is. Ficus pumila over there is dying, but it has made its way to the moss, and I think that's because that I read somewhere that sphagnum moss has antifungal properties, and that seems to be correct. All the moss there, and the entire background sphagnum moss, almost none of that has the mold. It's just the wood and the ficus pumila. The ficus pumila over here is starting to get it on that leaf right there. Not good. So what I did is I ordered some springtails from Josh's Frogs, and they should arrive next week. It's Saturday, so it's not going to arrive until Monday, but the tank will be okay until then. I should have had springtails like long ago by now. But oh well, I'll have them now. And they'll absolutely love this tank until they consume all the mold and start dying out dramatically. That's alright. That's nature. Come on. This lid. It's annoying. That's one of the ferns I got it. I can't show you that at all. At the Aquatic Experience. Pretty cool fern. It's doing very well. And that bin over there, it's doing brilliantly. So I moved a piece of into here. This tank, just moss, guppies, Elodia, Riccia. Oh, this is pretty cool. You'll notice that I have a piece of glass here. I think this is from a picture frame, and it doesn't fit exactly into the rim. So there's like a quarter inch, so it rests on here, but that's not a problem at all. You'll see a really cool thing here is this Riccia, the way it's growing. This can focus. Yes, look at that. It's growing really cool out of the water. It's adhering to the moss, not the moss. Come on, sticking to the the glass. It's really cool. Guppies. This tank, I haven't done a water change on this tank in at least a few months. And I feed it every 1 to 2 days. And fish have started dying here. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't really cared with like school and being busy and tired. But I'm probably going to do a water change after I finish this wet video. And before I do a water change, I'm going to test the nitrates and see how insane the nitrates are in this tank. And, the TDS. Probably super high. I wouldn't be surprised if it's at 100 parts per million nitrates. This plant, this fern, I don't know, I forget what this fern's called, but no matter what conditions I grow these in, they don't do well for me. I've seen them growing in people's yards like really well, so maybe I should just move it outside and it'll do nicely. I have some growing here as well. That one's doing a little better. This plant, I don't know what the hell it is, but it's doing really. It looks really cool. I really like it. I think this might be compatible with vivariums and high humidity. So I'm gonna, once it grows a bit bigger, I'm gonna take a piece of it and put it in an enclosure and see what happens. Gotta repot those succulents. They're just doing so badly. All of my succulents and cactuses are doing badly. I replanted a few here, just like temporarily until I get a better container for them. This cactus, it's just not doing well in here. I'm gonna move it into a much larger thing once I get the chance, but this thing will grow big. That plant grows like a weed anywhere I put it. Someone just gave me, well, they didn't give it to me, I stole it from them. That thing right there. And it's double in size. Just kidding, I didn't steal anything. That was a joke. You can see that, dropped a piece in there. There's now a tree growing there. Oh man, I forgot about that. I was supposed to not kill this. Maybe I can still water it and it'll be fine. We'll see. Yeah, all the plants are in here until spring. this thing, I'll talk about this in the next video.